Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube. Right here on YouTube. Please like, comment, share, subscribe Key City Sports on Instagram and my media feed on millions.co. Here is my profile. Go and subscribe to all of my media feeds on these different platforms. Now, let's get to we are at the end of the regular season in college football. There were 4 games that really garnered everybody's attention, and that were ranked matchups. And I'm going to get into all of them right now. The first one was good old fashioned clean hate. Georgia Bulldogs versus the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Now, this game was not what anybody was expecting. We were expecting a shootout because we had a shootout last year. And I'm just gonna tell y'all something. When it comes to Gunnar Stockton, he didn't wow you offensively. He was 11 of 21 for 70 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Georgia Tech's offense, Haynes King, 19 of 27, 181 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Georgia Tech rushing attack had 69 yards. Georgia's rushing attack had almost 200 yards. So a good running game in a defensive struggle will put you over the top every time, and that is exactly what happened with the Georgia Bulldogs winning this game. Now, Georgia Tech, I told y'all Georgia Tech was going to lose this game, and I said Georgia Tech, as far as being relevant, this is the first time that they've been relevant in a long time. Georgia Tech is almost in the same boat as Vanderbilt, which I will get into Vanderbilt a little bit later on in the show. And I am going to get into the game of all games. The best college football rivalry in America is Ohio State and that team from up north, Michigan Wolverines. But as of right now, here is the team statistics for the Georgia Bulldogs and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, had a good day on third down. Georgia was 6 of 14 on third down. Georgia Tech was 4 of 11 on third down. So, at the end of the season, we look at what Georgia did. We expected Georgia to be in this situation. Georgia Tech, 9-3, had a successful season. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, 3 games that they lost were against NC State, not a good program, Pitt, not a good program, and Georgia. So 2 of your 3 losses are against unranked teams, so that automatically puts you out of the college football playoff. But, let me tell y'all something. Duke, and this is the one thing that I was saying at the start of the season, we were going to have at least one 3-loss team in the college football playoff. Now, it'll be Virginia and Duke in the ACC championship game. Duke has 4 losses, and Virginia only has 3 losses. 3 losses. So the notion that every team in the college football playoff will have 2 losses or less, you're not going to be able to do that, because if Duke wins, you have a 4-loss team, and who are you going to place the Duke Blue Devils with? Because we all know that Duke is not a football school. So if Duke wins versus Virginia, they are going to get blown out. So it really wouldn't make sense to put Duke in the college football playoff. But ACC has been a bad conference all along. I don't know whether Miami will get in there. I believe Miami should, because they blew out their opponent on Saturday, Pittsburgh. And I believe that when it comes to revenue, see, this is where the college football committee, this is where they start, moving the goalposts when it comes to money purposes. We all know that Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, they gonna put eyeballs on the television, and they're gonna put people in those seats when it comes to the stadium. Somebody like Virginia, Duke, not too many people gonna look at that game. But all in all, this was a very, very entertaining game. It was a defensive struggle. You don't see too many games in 16-9 anymore, but it was a very, very intriguing game. And now here are a few clips of the game. This is where Georgia Tech's defense. Now, Georgia Tech, they had one of the top defenses in college football. 2nd and 8, under 3 minutes left. This is where the defense needed to step up. And Stockton rolls out. He runs for it. And he was short by half a yard. Now, Georgia Tech's defense, they had another 3rd down situation, 3rd and 11. Now, Gunnar Stockton, he did the right thing. Don't put the ball in jeopardy, in harm's way. Plus, Georgia Tech didn't have any more timeouts at this point in the game. So just let the clock run out. And that was pretty much it when it comes to Georgia versus Georgia Tech. That's all. And now here's the last play of the game, 14 seconds left. And a run, a first down, an 8-yard run, 8-yard gain, 7 seconds left, 2nd and 2. This is going to be, in all likelihood, last play of the game. They get it with 1 second left. They get it with 1 second left, and the guy, he was out of bounds. His knee was not down. So now, here is the last play of the game. Haynes King goes back, gives everybody a chance. Georgia knocked it down. And mainly, and I do mean mainly, I believe if the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets would have went for it on 4th down maybe a couple of times in this game, they would have had a better chance at getting a touchdown. But all in all, it was a very, very entertaining game. Now, the next game I'm going to talk about is the Lone Star State Showdown between the Texas A&M Aggies and the Texas Longhorns. Man, oh man. I did a reaction video to this game. I said the Texas A&M Aggies did not do themselves any favors because this is going to hurt them when it comes to the college football playoff rankings. It is. It is going to hurt them so bad. You had Marcel Reed. He was 20 of 32, 180 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Arch Manning. Now, Arch Manning, he has had a lot of ups and downs this season. But Arch Manning, 14 of 29, 179 yards, 1 touchdown. Most importantly, no interceptions. Texas A&M rushing attack had over 100 yards, to be exact, 157. Texas Longhorns rushing attack, they had a day. Quintravion Wiesner had over 100 yards just by himself, to be exact, 155, and a total of 218 yards. Let me tell y'all something. Texas A&M, now, I know that when we get to Texas A&M's schedule, we always see who they have played. Now, is Texas A&M, are they gonna fall out of the top 4 in the college football playoff? Possibly, because the four teams that were ranked on your schedule, you beat three of them, but you lost the most important ranked game on your schedule this entire season, and that was against Texas. Texas, I mean, coming into this game, the Texas Longhorns, they were either going to be 8-4 or 9-3. Texas, mainly, I believe Texas, the so-called experts, they had Texas a little bit too high. That's what I think. Coming into the season, they had Texas at number 1, and now they finished the season at number 16. Now, Texas, give Arch Manning another year or two, and Texas may be the powerhouse that everybody was expecting them to be this season. But outside of that, Texas A&M Aggies, only thing they had to do was win this game, and they were in the SEC championship game. But since they lost, now it is Alabama and Georgia in the SEC championship game. And I believe Alabama gonna beat Georgia again because it always happens. It always happens. Now, could Texas A&M get a New Year's Six Bowl? That's a possibility. Also, could the Texas Longhorns, could they also get a big time game? Because with them, even though that the 3 games that they lost was against, first off, the 3 games that they lost, Texas Longhorns, was Ohio State, Florida, and Georgia. Outside of that, they pretty much held business when it comes to Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Texas A&M, and their little group of 5 schools, their 3 group of 5 schools that they played. And also, I'm going to show y'all some clips because this is where the game pretty much, it was basically game over after this. So I'm going to show y'all a couple clips. Arch Manning back to pass, throws it to the tight end. They are now in field goal range, and this was with 9 minutes left in the game. Also, here is the 3rd and 3. This is where Texas A&M, they needed a stop, but Arch Manning takes the ball himself, and he goes for a touchdown. And this was basically the game because you only had 7 minutes left in the 4th quarter, and I'm going to tell y'all something. Marcel Reed, he said it himself. He didn't have a good game. He didn't. Also, as far as the defense concerned, everything was off. Arch Manning, he looked about as good as he looked all season. Marcel Reed back to pass, and he doesn't get anywhere, only has a 2-yard gain. So that was basically it for this game. Yeah, that was basically it for this game because Texas A&M, they missed their mark. They did. And also, Texas last season went into College Station and also got a victory. So, the previous 2 matchups, Texas A&M has not fared well versus the Longhorns. And that might be that doesn't look good at all. The next game I'm going to cover is Vanderbilt versus Tennessee Volunteers. Now I'm going to tell y'all something. Tennessee, we didn't expect y'all to get nowhere this season. You're 8-4. You're going to play in a bowl game. You had a chance at making the college football playoff early in the season if you would have beaten teams. I'm going to say the 4 teams that Tennessee lost to. If you beat Georgia, you have a good case of being in the playoff. If you beat Alabama, you have a good case at being in the playoff. If you beat Oklahoma, you got a good case in being in the playoff. And if you beat Vanderbilt, you had a good case at being in the playoff. If if Tennessee went undefeated, they would be in the playoff, an automatic lock in the playoff. But we already know that the Tennessee Volunteers, we already know that they was going to have a couple of slip-ups when it comes to this season. Now, let me get to Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel, you've been there for 4 years now, and the ceiling for the Tennessee Volunteers has been what? I don't think that there is a ceiling when it comes to the Tennessee Volunteers. I just don't. The ceiling for the Tennessee Volunteers is get 8 to 10 wins each year, get you a bowl game, and win that bowl game. But as far as going to the college football playoffs, I just don't see that. I just don't. And now you got a newcomer in Vanderbilt. Now, we all know that Vanderbilt hasn't been relevant in about 75, 80 years. And also, the same team when it comes to Vanderbilt, I don't think this team is coming back because I believe Diego Pavia, he is a junior or a senior, so he is going into the NFL draft if he so chooses. Also, when it comes to Vanderbilt's rushing attack, the leading rusher was Diego Pavia all season, all regular season. It's been Diego Pavia. So if Diego Pavia goes into the NFL draft in April, Vanderbilt, they are going to have to do some retooling, and they are also going to have to get running backs out of the transfer portal. Because basically for the last couple of years, you had Diego Pavia leading rusher in your run game and also the leading passer when it comes to your passing game. So Vanderbilt, this really was, I'm not going to show any clips of this game because this was basically a blowout when it came to the midway point of the fourth quarter. Now, third down efficiency. Vanderbilt was 7 of 10 on third down. Tennessee was 12 of 19 on third down. Tennessee went for it on fourth down twice. They were 0 of 12. And you get to the end of the regular season with the Tennessee Volunteers, another team that was projected to have a good season and almost projected to make the playoff. But they didn't make the playoff. And now we get to a point where we are questioning the system that Josh Heupel has put in place. We are. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I don't call for nobody's job, but you can only have so much progression throughout your coaching tenure to the point where the fans, they get wore out of just having the same record year after year after year, being in the same place year after year. Tennessee, I believe going into, if not going into next season, going into the following season after next, 2027, I believe it is going to be a make or break year for Josh Heupel. Either if it's 26 or 27, it is going to be a make or break year. So that's all I got to say. That's all I have to say for the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, the game of all games that everybody has been waiting for me to talk about. I don't know how long I'm going to talk about this game, but the game of all games, the best college football rivalry in college football history. I am about to talk about that. I said earlier this season that this was the NFL showcase because most players that go to the NFL draft wins off of this game and also has a big time showcase in this game. I call this the NFL showcase for a reason, and Ohio State did not let anybody down on Saturday. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Ohio State, they started off shaky. They did. Now I'm gonna get to their quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Because Julian saying, that's his last name. Y'all see what I did there? I took a famous saying and brought it to the quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now I'm gonna tell y'all something. I apologize to, and I do mean to, the Ohio State Buckeye fans because I was looking at something over the weekend. I was looking at all my tallies on how many times that I covered certain teams. I have only covered the Ohio State Buckeyes twice this season. Twice. And it's unlike me to cover, to not cover the top team consistently. Now, I can say that it was because of Ohio State's schedule, but the competition when it comes to Ohio State, it's got to do better. Cause like I said, when it comes to the only two games prior to Michigan on Saturday that I covered with the Ohio State Buckeyes was Texas, and that was the first game of the season, and Illinois. That's all. But I covered the Ohio State Buckeyes Saturday, and I'm also going to be covering the Ohio State Buckeyes this coming Saturday because we all know that it is the Big Ten Championship, Indiana versus Ohio State. Now, I'm going to save my prediction for later on in the week, but this is the best time of the college football season because all of those teams that are pretenders, they are out of the way. Now let me get back to the game at hand. Let me tell y'all something. Julian Sand, 19 of 26, 233 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That happened in the first drive of the game. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Bryce Underwood, 8 of 18, 63 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Excuse me. I'm going to say this. When it comes to the Michigan Wolverines coach, I'm going to pull up his name right here. Let's see. I know I got his name on the tip of my tongue. Let's see. I know it's down here. Sharon Moore. That is his name. Sharon Moore. You've had 2 years when it comes to Michigan. I don't know what the Michigan boosters think of Sharon Moore, but I'm going to tell y'all something. As far as Michigan being a powerhouse program, Michigan is not a powerhouse program. They aren't. I mean, Michigan, as far as championships that they've won, 2023, they won a championship. And before then, it took maybe 65, 70 years for them to win. For them to, between their first and second one, it took them 65, 70 years. So Michigan is not a powerhouse school. Only reason why Michigan is a big name is because of the glory days of Michigan. You got your Desmond Howards, your Tom Brady's, and players like that. But Ohio State, I'm going to say this, Ohio State over the last 25 years, Ohio State, they have always been in the fold when it comes to the start of early December, when it comes to getting into the playoffs or hosting a BCS championship game. Before the college football playoff era started back in 2014. Now we see where Ohio State's defense has only allowed 7 points all season, an average of 7 points all season. They only allowed 9 versus Michigan. And also, when we get to their rushing attack, I'm going to tell y'all something. Somebody that really, really got my attention in this game was Bo Jackson. Now, he is no relation to the other Bo Jackson, but I'm going to show y'all some clips of what Bo Jackson did versus Michigan. Now, he had 117 yards versus Michigan, and this is one of the plays in the game where a guy came unblocked for Michigan. He made that guy miss, got this first down. See, this is a 3rd and 2 right here. So 3rd and 2, Bo Jackson comes, gets the first down, and he got 15 yards on a 3rd down and 2. Now, as you can see, number 1 for Michigan came unblocked. And also, number 10, he made number 10 miss. Here go Bo Jackson again. He gets another first down. Excuse me, that was West. Here is Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson gets he gets an 8-yard gain. And here is Julian Sand on a sneak. And here is the field goal, and that was basically, it was basically ball game. Ohio State, they were firmly in hand for the whole game. But one thing I can say, it is hard for somebody to convince me for the past 4 years that Michigan was the better team in this rivalry. Now, I believe that Michigan, they won the last 4 years off of luck. Last year, I was expecting Ohio State to win versus Michigan because they had the better team, better offense, and at that point, Michigan, they were just throwing in quarterbacks in and out of the rotation. But now, you get a signature win versus your rival, and dare I say it, can Ohio State repeat as champions? I believe so. Because with this defense that they have, and also the offense is also a well-oiled machine, I believe Ohio State can make it to the national championship game again. Now, winning it, it's a whole nother story. Now, let me get y'all to the point of this next game. Well, excuse me. Those are the final topics of the game. Now, let me get y'all to something. When it comes to Lane Kiffin, the Lane train is on his way to Baton Rouge. Now, I'm not surprised that Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss, because I believe when it comes to Ole Miss, he had to use the transfer portal. 85% of the time, he had to use the transfer portal to get guys to come to Oxford. Now, you go to Baton Rouge, and you still gonna have trouble, getting guys to come to Baton Rouge, but it is going to be, I'm gonna say, not as difficult as a task when it comes to trying to recruit somebody to Ole Miss. Now, do I think Lane Kiffin played his hand a little bit? Overplayed his hand a little bit? Yes. Because if I'm LSU, I would have sought the LSU athletic director down and said, okay, I'm going to take this job. And I'm going to take this job under one condition. After the end of the season, I will take this job at LSU. But as of right now, I am the Ole Miss head coach, and no matter how the season ends, I will be taking the LSU job. Now, I would have did that. But we all know that when it comes to nowadays in college football, when it comes to, recruiting, now the recruiting tactics, that is another domino because Lane Kiffin, if he was working on Ole Miss recruiting right now, most of the guys that he would be bringing in, he wouldn't be there at the start of the new year, because at the end of the season he would have left Ole Miss and went to LSU. Now let me tell y'all something. When it comes to LSU, what is LSU getting in Lane Kiffin besides a better offense? Man, Lane Kiffin, he don't emphasize defense. Lane Kiffin is just like Lincoln Riley at USC. Can talk our ears off when it comes to offense and averaging 35, 40 points per game. But when it comes to defense, the defense is non-existent. And I believe within 3 to 5 years, Lane Kiffin, he gonna be going somewhere else, because Lane Kiffin's track record, he has never stayed anywhere no longer than 5 years. He stayed at Ole Miss 4 years. He started in 2020, and now he is already in LSU. So 5 years. 5 years at Ole Miss. And that's the longest he's ever been anywhere. I mean, he's had stops with NFL teams, 3 years, stops with other college football teams, 3 years. Not to even mention with Tennessee, he only had 1 year with Tennessee and pretty much dipped. Now I'm already hearing, speculations that if the Alabama job, if there's a vacant position, head coaching position with Alabama, he might want to do that. Now, I'm not going to say that Lane Kiffin can't survive at Alabama. But you all after 3 to 5 years, if it's not working out and if it's not going according to your plan, you just jump ship for a bigger bag. And I honestly can say, do I blame Lane Kiffin? No. Because when it comes to the dynamics of this situation, Ole Miss is an off-brand. Well, I'm not gonna say off-brand, but Ole Miss, it's not. It doesn't have the type of historical accomplishments that LSU has. If you see my drift, Ole Miss has never been to the college football playoff, has never been to the SEC championship. The last time Ole Miss won a SEC champion, the last time Ole Miss won a SEC championship and won the championship as a whole was back in the 1940s. We in the middle of the 2020s, America. Ole Miss ain't no powerhouse. Lane Kiffin, even when Lane Kiffin was at Ole Miss didn't just become this powerhouse overnight. LSU ain't no powerhouse. LSU has never been a powerhouse. LSU's championships is 1954, 2003, 2007, and 2019 when it comes to the LSU Tigers. There is no consistency when it comes to the LSU fan base. There is no consistency when it comes to the Ole Miss fan base. And Lane Kiffin is only going to be there for a short period of time. only a short period of time. And with that, those are my reactions to week 14 of the 2025 college football season and the Lane Kiffin, the Lane Train coaching saga is now complete. Now we can stop focusing on Lane Kiffin because it seemed like every day last month. This is a new month. It's December 1st. But Lane Kiffin, it seemed like every day last month, it was Lane Kiffin this, Lane Kiffin that, Lane Kiffin going to Florida, Lane Kiffin staying. I'm like, I'm tired of hearing about Lane Kiffin. Also, Florida, my Florida Gators, we got a new head coach, John Summerall. Even though he's been in the Sun Belt, I'm gonna tell y'all something about John Summerall. Even though he's been in the Sun Belt, his coaching record when it comes to 42-11, almost the same as Billy Napier. But one thing I can say about John Summerall is he always has an offensive coordinator when it comes to on his staff. And that was one thing that Billy Napier didn't have. He always called the plays. So I'm gonna show y'all something. Here is John Summerall's early coaching career. He was with Detroit Trojans. Here is his head coaching record. He was the head coach for the Detroit Trojans in 2022 and in 23. Always had his teams in a conference championship game. 12-2 in 2022, 11-2 in 2023. Tulane Green Wave. This is where he's been at the past 2 years. Tulane Green Wave in 2024, he was 9-5. This season, he was 10-2, 19-7 with Tulane, 14-2 as far as conference record with Tulane. Now, like I always say, the difference is this is the SEC. It's the SEC. And me being a Florida Gators fan, I'm looking at this head coaching hire. I'm more optimistic. Because at least John Summerall is talking about hiring an offensive coordinator. Now, let's see what John Summerall can do when it comes to the recruiting process, because in a few weeks, the recruiting process is going to happen. Also, spring ball is going to happen in a few months. And also, when it comes to the transfer portal is going to open up twice within the next 4 months. Let's see what John Summerall can do when it comes to the transfer portal and the recruiting process when it comes to the Florida Gators. Now, I always tell y'all this. When it comes to a new head coach going to a new team, the first year, you're going to have growing pains. Second year, improvement. Third year, you should be building into a powerhouse. The fourth year, you should be a playoff team. And by that fifth or sixth year, you should be a championship contending team or win the championship in 6 years, in 5 to 6 years. But let's see what John Summerall can do in the first 3, because the first 3 years will determine if he will be there another 3 years. But that's all I have to say about LSU's head coach Lane Kiffin, and Florida Gators head coach John Summerall. And with that, those are my reactions to week 14 of the 2025 college football season and head coaching carousel with the Florida Gators and the LSU Tigers. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is my profile on Millions. Here is my media feed on Millions. Please go and subscribe to all of my media feeds on these platforms. And remember, everybody, one last thing. The key is always on time.